Bueno, la que se está liando con el tema de Anonymous, señores, la que se está liando. El domingo subí un vídeo hablando de todo lo que había pasado con el regreso de Anonymous y todo el caso este de George Floyd, pero no solo ha pasado eso, sino que ahora Anonymous ha cargado contra la OMS, la OMS, la Organización Mundial de la Salud. Y si os preguntáis por qué, pues es básicamente por la mala gestión que ha habido de la pandemia del COVID. Pero antes de nada me gustaría dejaros por aquí una lista de ciberataques y hackeos por si eres nuevo en el canal y no lo has visto y te enteres al tema. Así que no quiero entreteneros más y vamos a ver el comunicado.
Greetings, citizens of the world. This is a message from Anonymous for the World Health Organization. It is widely believed that you are a group that truly seeks to maintain the best public health around the world, but in the past few months, it has become apparent that you are more of a political organization than a public service. In fact, your allegiance to the governments that support you through massive financial donations has put the world in grave danger.
Vale, aquí la primera parte de este comunicado lo que nos está contando Anonymous es que la OMS no se trata de un organismo público, un organismo que vela por la seguridad de todo el mundo, que es en teoría lo que debería ser, sino que está muy politizada por todos los gobiernos de diferentes países. Básicamente, como es una organización pública a nivel mundial, no genera unos ingresos como tal, entonces se supone lo que recrimina Anonymous es que sus decisiones están politizadas en función a los gobiernos que más apoyan o que más donaciones hacen a la OMS.
The organization that you belong to has a very important responsibility, because it is trusted by most of the world for credible information. You are seen as the utmost authority on health information, and act as the arbiter of truth for up-to-date science on emerging diseases. Most media broadcasters, politicians, and health officials around the world have looked to your press releases and news conferences for the most up-to-date scientific information on the growing COVID-19.
Esto es lo que estábamos hablando antes, ¿no? Que al haber esta pandemia del COVID, pues todos los científicos y todos los gobiernos de todos los países han recurrido a la OMS porque al final es la organización referencia que está aquí arriba donde se puede consultar todo.
Coronavirus pandemic, and you failed miserably in your duty to protect the people. Your response to this virus has been a day late and a dollar short, every step of the
Ahí le están tirando en cara que ha sido una respuesta muy tardía y que hay mucho interés económico por medio.
way, beginning with your refusal to admit in the early stages of the outbreak that human-to-human transmission was taking place, when this fact was obvious to scientists and journalists around the world who were following the story and keeping up with the studies as they were being published. At the time, the Chinese government was doing its best to downplay the severity of the outbreak, and the World Health Organization acted as their mouthpiece, reporting whatever Chinese authorities told them to. As a result of this guidance, the entire world did not take the threat seriously.
Aquí también está comentando que han hecho mucho eco a lo que decían las autoridades chinas y que obviamente de China no sabemos si fiarnos o no porque cantidad de gente y cantidad de muertos es un poco sospechoso. Entonces también les está acusando por eso y que al hacer tanto eco a este país, a China, pues si no se hubiese hecho básicamente pues hubiese sido todo mucho menor.
Because everyone assumed that the World Health Organization could be trusted. Members of the World Health Organization also took months before finally declaring the coronavirus a global pandemic. During press conferences in recent months, representatives of the organization insisted that they wanted to avoid declaring a pandemic prematurely because they didn't want to scare anyone or create a panic. However, scientific findings have since shown that we were already dealing with a global pandemic by the time that Chinese authorities decided to quarantine Wuhan, because the genetics of the virus has been traced back to at least October or November 2019.
What we see are epidemics in different parts of the world, affecting countries in different ways and requiring a tailored response. The sudden increase in new cases is certainly very concerning. I have spoken consistently about the need for facts, not fear. Using the word pandemic now does not fit the facts, but it may certainly cause fear.
Ahí lo que habéis visto ha sido el comunicado de un representante de la OMS diciendo que declarar el COVID como pandemia era demasiado grave, etc, etc, etc. Entonces Anonymous les está recriminando esto, que tenían que haber actuado más rápido y haber declarado la pandemia antes, para evitar pues todas las muertes y los desastres que se han causado.
For the past several months you have insisted that this virus was not airborne, despite significant evidence, including multiple scientific studies suggesting that this was the case. Now that the whole world is in lockdown, you have finally admitted that this virus can be transmitted through the air, despite the fact that numerous scientific studies since January have confirmed this to be the case. The general population has been getting a very confusing message, and very bad advice.
Esto sí que es una verdad como un templo. Al final nosotros hemos estado expuestos a un montón de información contradictoria de un día lleva mascarilla, otro día no lleves mascarilla. Usa la mascarilla y tíralo, la puedes utilizar X horas. Y al final ni los gobiernos propios saben qué recomendarnos.
Thanks to these conflicting reports, and the murky definition for airborne, that is being used by health officials. Since this virus is spread through the air, and can remain in the air for up to 3 hours, the use of N95 masks is very important in stopping the spread of the illness. Unfortunately, the United States and other undeveloped countries were caught off guard by the pandemic and are not prepared with enough proper protective equipment for medical health professionals, meaning that there certainly won't be enough to go around for the general population. The World Health Organization is ignoring the science and the common sense, but masks have been proven to drastically reduce the spread of illnesses like the one we are facing. There are many people in the United States who are learning this fact and are becoming upset about the lies that they have been told, and many of them are suggesting that the World Health Organization is helping the US government prevent panic by downplaying the importance of masks and transmission through the air.
Ya vuelve a salir aquí Estados Unidos, y es que está en todos lados. Al final, una colaboración o un acuerdo entre la OMS y Estados Unidos para que no cunda tanto el pánico y para que el país en general no se ralentice tanto, para que la caída económica no sea tan grande como puede llegar a ser o como se ha planteado que va a ser durante los próximos meses.
Let's not forget that the organization's largest donors are the United States government, the Chinese government, and the Gates Foundation. This is perhaps why W.H.O officials have refused to recognize Taiwan as a separate entity from China, and why the organization has praised the leadership of both the US and China, despite the fact that both governments have been criticized for their lack of transparency and the heavy-handed tactics that have been used to enforce quarantines.
Al final también aquí está volviendo a ser lo que el objetivo básicamente de Anonymous, que es destapar toda la corrupción. En el vídeo anterior hablamos de toda la corrupción del cuerpo de policía, pues ahora está hablando de la corrupción dentro de la OMS o organismos que deberían ser públicos.
Let's face it, the World Health Organization is corrupt, and is more of a public relations firm for its donors than it is a bastion of public health. The organization does not have a good track record with outbreaks either, and rarely does anything of value to actually help. In 2015, the World Health Organization admitted that they did a bad job at handling the Ebola epidemic in West Africa. In the Ebola outbreak, the organization actually made many of the same mistakes, including waiting too long before declaring a global health emergency, a decision which scientists later said undoubtedly contributed to the unprecedented scale of the outbreak. After the failed response to the Ebola epidemic, the previous Director General was replaced with Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, who is now the face of the organization. Tedros also has a history of corruption, which includes downplaying the severity of a cholera outbreak in Ethiopia when he was the country's health minister between 2005 and 2012. In addition to misleading the world about the severity of the virus, you have also encouraged the draconian measures that governments have taken to enforce quarantines. As the Chinese government was silencing doctors and locking them in quarantine for speaking out, Tedros and others praised its response, and urged other governments around the world to take similar measures. Citizens of other countries, especially those in the Western world, thought that it could never happen in their neighborhood, but most governments seem to be taking the advice of the World Health Organization and have started to implement military-style lockdowns similar to those seen in Wuhan during the early days of the outbreak. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
Bueno, pues chicos, eso ha sido básicamente el comunicado de Anonymous para la OMS. Y la verdad es que tampoco dice una cosa muy grave, muy nueva, pero bueno, tendremos que ver cómo se desarrollan los acontecimientos y tendremos que validar la información que nos han dicho, porque, como siempre os digo, hay que ser escépticos, nunca hay que creerse en las cosas que vemos por internet, al menos la primera vez, y nada, veremos si siguen sacando cositas del tema y bien, las veremos, las analizaremos en este canal. Suscríbete si no estás suscrito y mírate estos vídeos sobre ciberataques y hackeos o tecnología que seguro que te gustan si estás viendo este vídeo. Un besito muy grande y nos vemos en el próximo vídeo.